So now we're back in the sugya of Osek Mitzvah Pater Mitzvah. Sukka, Chafim and Aleph, 4 lines from the bottom. The Osek Mitzvah, the question the Gemara is going to take up is what the real source for Osek Mitzvah is. So go, take it away.
Can I ask a question?
So the first possibility the Gemara says is, if you're going to look for a case of somebody who is Osek Mitzvah Pater Mitzvah, what would that case be? So we have 2 hints, okay? Hint number 1 is, what were they? We don't know what this was applied to yet, but Tmeim.
Oh, yeah.
They were Tameh, okay? And what's the second hint? Well, let's see if you can figure out the second hint. The second hint is, what is this? Well, you know, come on, we know the story. What was the story about?
Right.
So they're being Tameh prevented them from doing what? Bringing the Korban Pesach. So 1 second. Asuk be...
Tameh.
Okay, well, no, they can't be Asuk be Tameh because that's a state. Right, that can't be. Okay, so Yaakov knows the end. In other words, you'll see the end point is going to be they're Osek and Mason Mitzvah, which makes them Tameh, and now they can't do the Korban Pesach.
That's a bad.
It says, Osam Anashim Mihayu. So who were these people? Who were the people who were the Anashim that were Tameh Nefesh? Yosef, Ranasha Yosef, Hayu. So who were they? They were the guys who were carrying Aaron Yosef. Why is that significant? What's significant about Aaron Yosef? So what? Okay, so what's the first possibility in the Gemara? The first possibility is what? The first possibility is, who were these people? They were the guys carrying the Nosei Aaron. So if they're carrying the Aaron of Yosef, what does that make them? Tameh. If they're carrying the Aaron of Yosef, it makes them Tameh. So now we have another part. Now Rabbi Kiva. What does Rabbi Kiva hold?
You want to take it?
No, Rabbi Kiva.
Rabbi Kiva Omer Mishael.
The El Safran.
The people, right?
Hayajayo Oskin Bidnadav Vaviu.
Okay, who were Mishal and Al Safan? So the second possibility is that it was Mishal and Al Safan. So you don't have, it's a big Rashi. You don't have to do the Rashi. Rashi basically says what happened. When did this take place?
Oh no.
Come on, when did this take place?
Right in the second year.
Okay, but get more specific. When did Nadav and Abihu died when?
Right.
The first day of Nisan, which was when? Because what were they doing? Yes.
Oh, I thought it was the 8th day. Yeah.
No, the 8th day was the culmination.
Still
They were. Oh, we'll get to that.
They died on the first day of the Shiva Yimei Hamim.
Sharei ve'echa b'Nisan hukam Mishkan. I'm sorry. The second day. On the first day, the Mishkan was hukam. The Sheni lo, the second day of that month, Saraf. I'm sorry.
Nice.
You're right. I apologize. It was Vahiba Yom HaShmini. It's on the 8th day. You're right. I apologize. It was on the 8th day. So anyway, so you had all the days were leading up to the final consecration of the Mishkan. Now, the most important thing that was what happened. None of you get killed. What did Mishal and someone have to do? And therefore they become Tameh. Okay, so now you have both situations of Tameh Mace, right? And if you're Tameh Mace, what does that mean? You can't do the Korban Pesach. Okay? So why would this apply to Osek Mitzvah Pater Mitzvah? Because the question is, can you become Tameh Mace knowing full well the Korban Pesach's coming up? Okay? That should already get very, very. Well, you tell me what the problem with that is. Let me tell you factually. Gemara is saying it couldn't have been Nosei Aaron Yosef because they could have been mitar in time for Korban Pesach. So forget the logistics of it. They could have. It couldn't have been Mishal Tzafan because they also had time to. What's the problem with that? No, we're saying, what should you ask then at this point immediately?
Really? They had time?
No, immediately. Well, the first question you must ask: was Rabbi Yossi dumb? Was Rabbi Kiva dumb? They know. Don't know. Were they dumb? Of course, Rabbi Kiva knows they had time to do it. So why would the Gemara ever waste our time telling us 2 possibilities that they know clearly couldn't have been the case?
You would have thought.
And you can't say that Rabbi Kiva and Rabbi Yossi had a different set of facts insofar as when they could be matar. Everyone agrees about the dates. So that's that's the hardest question to answer. But we're going to have to answer that at some point. Now, so what is the case then? What's the case? These guys, they found a mace. Right? So now they found a mace. So what do they do?
Isn't that the simplest answer?
Yeah. Okay. So that's another. So now you're no. It's good. You're right. You're building off the original question, which is that why not just go to that to begin with? The Gemara says now. The Gemara says Ella oskim meis mitzvah hayu. Right? Shechal shviya shalahem liyos be'ar Pesach. So what happened? The last day of their tumah came out on Erev Pesach. Okay. Shinamar.
Shinamar v'lo yachlu asos Pesach v'yomahu.
Below Yachlu Lasos Pesach, they couldn't do the Korban Pesach on this day. Why? Because they were Tameh. Keep going. No. Right. So okay. Bayomahu Einachol Lasos. Halamachar Yichol Lasos. But what could they have done? They could have done it The next day. But the problem is, can you do it the next day?
No.
Al right?
No.
Okay. So that's the situation. The situation is that there's a Meis Mitzvah, they became Tameh, and the way it worked out in their calculation is that by becoming Tameh, the seventh day of their Tumah would end up being the day of Erev Pesach when they're Chayav in the Korban, thus they can't do the Korban Pesach. So this is the case of Osek Mitzvah Pater Mitzvah. This is the paradigm case. Okay? Okay. But 1 second. Now what? No, let's ask one more question. But what was the Gemara's original question originally? So we can't ignore B'shittecha V'Eisecha. So now you have two sources of Osek Mitzvah. One is B'shittecha V'Eisecha. That's a Chasan also. But one's B'shittecha V'Eisecha Uvlachtecha B'derech, and the other one is these guys, the guys who are Tamei Meis, and therefore couldn't do the Korban Pesach. So we have two sources. So whenever you have two sources in the Gemara, or two sources in general,
so the Gemara
is going to say tzricha. You need both. This is the hard part. Why do you need both? The question you have to ask is, why do I need both psukim? I need one source, b'shidducha v'eisecha, that teaches me asuk mitzvah pater mitzvah, and I also have this incident that teaches me asuk mitzvah pater mitzvah, because they were asuk in meis mitzvah, which made them tameh, and they were supposed to do that, even though that created a p'tur in korban pesach. In other words, it's shricha. You need both. Why? Now we're going to pick one of the two. The I ashmeina and hasam. Right? If you learn that only from there, mishum delo mata zman chiva de pesach, aval hacha de mata zman kriyashma emolo tzricha. So what's the Gemara saying? First case in the Gemara is if I only have the case. Let's say all I have is the pasuk of Tamei Meis. Right? That's all I would have. Okay. So what would you think? What would you think? You says kishenitmu adayin. So when they became Tameh, when these guys became Tameh, was a Chiyuv Korban Pesach existing then? No. Okay. Aval by Kriyashma, right? The Matos Man Chiyuva b'toch chuppah. When I'm standing underneath the chuppah and it's nighttime, okay, am I Chayim in Kriyashma?
No.
Am I Chayim in Kriyashma?
No.
Yeah.
Am I Chayim in? Yes.
Oh,
the Zman Chiyuv. No. The Zman Chiyuv is now there. Okay. The Hu Roy Lekach. So what's the Gemara saying? What do you, if you just had, if you just had Tamei Meis, okay, what would you think? What the Gemara is saying is if I only had the pasuk of Tamei Meis, what would I learn? I'd learn, okay, well, 1 second. What's unique about the case of Tamei Meis? I'm involved in one mitzvah. I can be involved in one mitzvah because the second mitzvah has not what? Has not come yet. Right? Even though I know it's coming in the future, but since it's not chal upon me now, why should that prevent me from being asuk in the first mitzvah? But by Kriya Shema, if I'm in the chuppah, both mitzvahs are chal upon me. Mitzvah chuppah and mitzvah Kriya Shema. So maybe you'll think since they're both chal at the same time, meaning I could do both. They're both chal at the same time. Therefore, they're both chal at the same time. They're both activated simultaneously. So therefore, I should be chayev. But by the case of Tamei Meis, I'm not chayev. Kamashlan, no, even in the case of Kriya Shema, where they both come upon me at the same time, where both are real at the same time, I am pater. Okay? Hold on. Just to say it one more time, just to make sure everything's clear here. The issue on the table is that what the Gemara is saying is that what you would have thought. Right now, I can be asuk in mitzvah A because mitzvah B is not in my timeline right now. I know it's happening in 3 days. But right now, it's not a reality to me. Okay? But you'll see why that only works based on the assumption that Korban Pesach is a more important mitzvah to do. If it didn't work, if you plug it in, if you didn't have that fact, this would make even less sense. You'll see why in a second. Okay?
Which mitzvah are you asuk?
I'm asuk in Tamei Meis. Then the Gemara says, "Vi ashmin and hacha." Right, so let's say you just had the case of Kriya Shema, right? Mishum deleka kares, ava hasam deika kares emelo tzricha. Now this is Yaakov's answer. So what's the second tzricha saying? Relax. What do we have at this point? We have the principle. We have his askus b'mitzvah defined. What we don't have is what are we defining in these two Gemaras?
Mitzvahs.
Wrong.
Okay.
No. What it means to be pater. That's the question the Gemara is saying up. It's why Gemara is so brilliant. The first part of the Gemara is teaching you what does his askus b'mitzvah mean. We have that established, but now the problem is, what does patur mean?